Hey guys, tonight we step into the polished marble floors, curling candle smoke, and rustling silk of a world hidden behind gold, where power wore perfume. Silence served strategy, and invisible hands kept the palace breathing. Imagine waking before the sun to scrub another's chamber pot, tightening corsets with trembling fingers, and vanishing into shadows before your own name could echo through the halls. This was Versailles, not for the kings, but for the ghosts who served them. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and what time it is for you. The first whisper of dawn, a pearly grey luminescence seeping through the high, arched windows of Versailles, found the great palace still lost in its grand slumber. But beneath the gilded ceilings and brocaded walls, where the dreams of kings and queens unfurled like silken tapestries, another world was already stirring. Here, in the labyrinthine corridors and cramped chambers of the servant quarters, the true pulse of the palace began its intricate, unceasing beat. It was a rhythm born not of trumpets and fanfares, but of bare feet on cold flagstones, the soft clatter of earthenware, and the distant, rhythmic creak of wooden buckets being lowered into wells. Was this not the very bedrock upon which empires were built, this unseen toil, this quiet devotion, long before the sun's first golden arrow pierced the royal bedchamber? A delicate mist of candle smoke began to coil upwards from 1,000 tiny flames, scattering motes of dust in their tremulous glow. These were the working lights, humble counterparts to the glittering chandeliers that would soon awaken with a blinding brilliance. In the chill pre-dawn air, figures moved like wraiths, their movements practiced, fluid, and imbued with an ancient understanding of silence. They were the unseen gears of a colossal clockwork, each fulfilling their purpose with a quiet dedication that bordered on the sacred. What unseen energies, what unseen forces, truly governed the grand dance of life within these hallowed halls? Was it the will of the monarch, or the tireless, unseen efforts of those who served? The polished floors, reflecting the nascent light like dark, still pools, bore witness to the silent procession. Every surface, every artifact, every gilded corner of Versailles demanded an homage of meticulous care, a constant cleansing that bordered on a spiritual rite. It was as if the very dust of the palace held secrets, and only through diligent removal could the true inherent splendor be revealed. The air itself, though heavy with the scent of old stone and lingering perfumes from the night before, now began to take on the fresh, clean scent of scrubbed wood and beeswax. A subtle alchemy of cleanliness, transforming the very atmosphere. What forgotten wisdom lay hidden in this meticulous attention to the mundane, this elevation of daily chores to an art form? A rustling silk, a faint, almost imperceptible sound, would occasionally drift down from the upper floors, a premonition of the day's coming grandeur. It was the whisper of a lady's gown, perhaps disturbed by a dream, or the quiet shift of a royal attendant preparing for the first summons. But here, below, the silks were not for wearing, but for polishing, for wiping, for ensuring that every surface gleamed with an almost supernatural luster. The very act of service, in its highest form, mirrored the alchemical process, the base material of daily living, through diligent effort and time, was transmuted into something refined, something exquisite. Could suffering, could refinement, could time itself be the true crucible in which inner gold was forged? The light, though growing, was still diffuse, a gentle unveiling rather than a sudden revelation. In the sprawling kitchens, a symphony of preparation had already begun. Copper pots, burnished to a gleam that rivaled the finest gold, simmered over crackling fires, their contents releasing fragrant tendrils of steam. The scent of roasted meats, of freshly baked bread, of sweet fruit preserves, mingled and swirled, creating a heady perfume that promised the day's coming indulgences. Here, the raw materials of the earth, the wheat, the livestock, the fruits of the orchard, were transformed by the hands of anonymous masters. Was this not a form of sacred alchemy, turning the base elements of sustenance into a feast fit for gods? Each servant, from the scullery maid to the head chef, moved with an intuitive grace, a dance perfected over generations. Their roles were not merely tasks, but ancient rites, passed down through whispers and observations, woven into the very fabric of their being. They were the custodians of tradition, the silent inheritors of a wisdom that predated the palace itself. This wisdom, often unwritten and unspoken, resided in the muscle memory of their hands, in the keenness of their senses, in their deep understanding of the palace's intricate demands. How much hidden knowledge, how many untold stories lay buried beneath the surface of the grand historical narratives, residing instead in the quiet lives of those who served. As the first golden shafts of sunlight finally pierced the upper galleries, illuminating dust motes dancing in their beams like tiny, joyous spirits, the rustling silk became more pronounced. Footsteps, lighter now, yet still echoing with the authority of rank, began to traverse the royal apartments. The world above was awakening, a gilded cage slowly coming to life, prepared by the unseen hands below. And in the hushed anticipation, a silent question hung in the air. What new dramas would unfold today within these walls? What whispers would the polished floors absorb? What transformations, visible and invisible, awaited the dawn? For even in the heart of opulence, change was the only constant, a slow, inevitable tide shaping all things. Could the world truly be changed from within, or must it always be a grand external force that reshaped destinies? Asterisk, asterisk, the first grand stirrings from the royal chambers were met with a silent, synchronized flurry below. Maids, with their hair neatly pinned and aprons crisp, hurried to lay out the day's attire, each garment a masterpiece of fabric and embroidery, chosen not just for beauty, but for the subtle messages it conveyed. Valets moved with quiet efficiency, polishing buckles, sharpening razors, and ensuring every element of the royal morning ritual was poised for perfection. This was not mere domestic work. It was the orchestration of an illusion, a daily reaffirmation of power and prestige. Did the wearer of such finery truly understand the countless hours, the meticulous attention, the invisible hands that brought such splendor into being? Or was it all simply taken as a given, like the rising sun? In the vast hall where the king's breakfast would soon be laid, footmen moved like silent, dark-clad shadows, setting each porcelain plate, each silver utensil, with a precision that bordered on the ritualistic. The clink of a fork against a dish, the soft scrape of a chair being adjusted, were the only sounds, hushed and reverent. Each item, from the simplest linen napkin to the most intricate gilded teacup, had a story, a journey from its creation to its place on the royal table. And yet, its true value lay not in its material worth, but in its purpose, in its contribution to the grand narrative of the court. What treasures do we hold, both tangible and intangible, whose true worth we fail to comprehend until we understand their origins, their journey, their purpose? Outside, in the Dukeist gardens, gardeners were already tending to the geometric perfection of the parterres. their hands steeped in the earthy scent of damp soil and blooming flowers. The beauty of Versailles was not a static creation but a living, breathing entity, constantly shaped and refined by human hands, mirroring the continuous effort required to maintain any grand vision. The palace, in its sprawling magnificence, was a canvas, and its inhabitants, both seen and unseen, were the artists. But was the greatest masterpiece not the palace itself, but the intricate web of human endeavor that sustained it, day after day, through sun and shadow, through triumph and tribulation, as the palace awoke in full, the distinction between the visible and the invisible blurred. The low murmur of servants' voices, previously confined to their subterranean world, now began to interweave with the polite chatter and grand pronouncements from above. Yet, even as they moved through the same vast spaces, their roles kept them separate, like two rivers flowing side by side without ever truly mingling. The footmen who carried messages, the chambermaids who smoothed silken sheets, the stable hands who groomed the king's horses, they were everywhere and nowhere, essential to the palace's existence, yet largely unacknowledged in the grand tapestries of courtly life. Each polished knob, each gleaming mirror, each freshly swept floor was a testament to their unseen efforts. They were the silent guardians of the palace's beauty, the unsung heroes of its grandeur, and in their quiet dedication there was a profound lesson that true beauty, like true strength, often resides not in the dazzling display, but in the painstaking, invisible work that supports it. Is not the strongest root that which goes deepest, unseen beneath the earth, nurturing the magnificent bloom above? Yet, for all their collective purpose, each servant also carried a universe within them. Dreams, anxieties, hopes, whispered prayers, these were the unseen burdens and blessings that accompanied them through their long days. The scullery maid, scrubbing pots in the steamy heat, might dream of a small cottage of her own, a garden filled with herbs. The valet, meticulously laying out a royal waistcoat, might harbor a secret ambition, a hidden talent for music or poetry. What vast untold narratives were contained within the quiet hearts that served such a public spectacle? Could it be that the greatest wealth of the kingdom was not found in its coffers of gold, but in the rich, vibrant inner lives of its people, regardless of their station? The filtered sunlight now streamed in, illuminating the countless motes dancing in the air, each a tiny world adrift in the vastness. It seemed to whisper of the ephemeral nature of all things, even a palace as grand as Versailles. For all its permanence, it was merely a stage upon which human lives, full of quiet striving and unseen dreams, played out their brief, poignant dramas, and what remained after the final curtain fell. But the echoes of those efforts, the faint scent of beeswax and polished wood, and the enduring mystery of human dedication. The clock in the grand antechamber chimed softly, marking the passing of another quarter hour, a gentle reminder of time's relentless march. For the servants, time was not merely a concept, but a tangible force, shaping their every action, dictating their precise movements. Each bell, each whispered command, each approaching shadow of a superior marked a new phase in their intricate dance. They were, in essence, living embodiments of the palace's own grand mechanism, their personal rhythms synchronized with its ancient heartbeat. How often do we, in our modern rush, forget the profound wisdom embedded in such meticulous timekeeping, in the respectful acknowledgement of each passing moment? In the laundry rooms, a different kind of alchemical transformation was underway. Mountains of soiled linens, stained with the trivialities of royal life, were plunged into steaming vats, scrubbed with strong lye soap, and then rinsed in fresh, cold water. The air hung thick with the scent of damp fabric and the quiet industry of hands working tirelessly. From this process, seemingly mundane, emerged crisp, clean sheets and gleaming tablecloths, ready to re-enter the cycle of courtly life. Was this not a profound metaphor for purification, for the cleansing of the spirit through diligent effort and the willingness to face discomfort? Upstairs, the first members of the court began to emerge, their silks rustling more audibly now, their voices a melodic hum drifting through the corridors. They moved with a languid grace, born of privilege and expectation, their days unfolding along preordained paths. But for the servants, their paths were equally preordained, though by a different set of rules, those of duty, necessity, and the endless cycle of service. They moved through the periphery, often unseen, yet always observing. They were the true chroniclers of the palace's hidden life, privy to unguarded moments, hushed conversations, and the myriad small details that painted a truer picture than any official portrait. What profound insights are gathered by those who serve, by those who are present but largely unacknowledged, their silent observations forming an unparalleled archive of human truth. The morning light now bathed the hall of mirrors in a blinding, ethereal glow, each mirrored pane reflecting and amplifying the nascent day. For a brief moment, even the hurried servants might pause, caught by the sheer, dazzling beauty, a fleeting glimpse of the sublime. It was a reminder that even amidst the most arduous tasks, moments of unexpected transcendence could emerge, if one was only open to perceiving them. And perhaps this was the true reward, the hidden gold, not in what was gained, but in what was seen, in the quiet revelation of beauty amidst the mundane. The aroma of roasting coffee, a rare and precious luxury, now wafted from the royal apartments, signaling the king's full awakening. For the servants, this was a cue, an unspoken command that propelled them into the next phase of their duties. Pages scurried, carrying messages written on crisp parchment. Maids straightened cushions and adjusted draperies, ensuring every detail was in its precise place. It was an intricate ballet, performed with an unwavering commitment to perfection, a testament to the belief that true order, like true beauty, required constant vigilance. What discipline of the self, what surrender to a larger purpose, did such a life demand? Below stairs, the bustle intensified. The kitchen, once serene in the pre-dawn quiet, was now a vibrant hub of activity, a symphony of chopping, sizzling, and the rhythmic pounding of pestle on mortar. Each ingredient, no matter how humble, was treated with respect, prepared with an almost religious devotion. The simple root vegetable, the humble grain, transformed by skilled hands into delectable fare. Was this not a daily miracle, a small act of creation mirroring the grand design of the universe? And in this transformation, did the ingredients themselves not find their highest purpose, their true expression? Meanwhile, in the deeper recesses of the palace, the silent work of maintenance continued. Carpenters mended, plumbers attended to leaks, and sweepers ensured no speck of dirt marred the grand illusion. These were the unseen repairers, the quiet sustainers, whose efforts ensured that the seamless facade of royal life remained unbroken. Their labor, though often forgotten, was the very bedrock of stability, preventing decay from creeping into the grand edifice. How much of our own lives, our own inner peace, is built upon the forgotten, painstaking work of nurturing and repair, the quiet mending of what is broken before it collapses entirely. The sun climbed higher, its golden rays now streaming directly into the Hall of Mirrors, turning the vast space into a shimmering kaleidoscope of light and reflection. It was a fleeting moment of dazzling brilliance, a reminder that even the most meticulously controlled environment could be momentarily overwhelmed by the raw, unfiltered power of nature. And in that overwhelming beauty, a whisper of transcendence could be heard, that perhaps true mastery lay not in control, but in the humble acceptance of forces greater than oneself, in the silent awe before the magnificent. The morning progressed, marked by the rhythmic clang of laundry beaten clean, the distant shouts from the stables, and the incessant, soft rustle of silk as courtiers drifted through their gilded routines. For the servants, the mid-morning offered a brief, almost imperceptible shift in the current of their ceaseless labor. Tasks often became more specialized, more focused. The pantry staff meticulously inventoried precious spices and rare wines, their hands moving with the reverence of archaeologists handling ancient relics. Each bottle, each jar, held a story, a provenance, tracing back to distant lands and forgotten journeys. What forgotten tales, what hidden energies reside within the most seemingly inert objects, waiting to be rediscovered by the discerning touch? In the vast gardens, now fully bathed in sunlight, the landscape artists and their teams began the painstaking work of pruning and shaping the hedges, transforming unruly nature into perfect geometric forms. Each snip of the shears, each careful trim, was an act of both submission and control, a dialogue between the wild spirit of the natural world and the human desire for order. Was this not a metaphor for the human spirit itself, constantly seeking balance between its inherent wildness and the societal structures that shape it? And in this delicate balance, what new forms of beauty could emerge? Within the royal library, a hush descended, broken only by the gentle turning of pages and the soft scratch of quills. Here, scribes and librarians, themselves a different breed of servant, meticulously catalogued knowledge, preserving the wisdom of ages. Their work was quieter, less physically demanding, yet carried a profound weight, the responsibility of safeguarding the collective memory of a civilization. They were the custodians of whispers from the past, ensuring that lessons learned and truths discovered would not be lost to the shifting sands of time. Is the greatest legacy not found in the monuments of stone, but in the enduring, fragile threads of knowledge passed from one generation to the next? The sun, now at its zenith, cast sharp, defined shadows across the palace courtyards, highlighting the intricate patterns of cobblestones and the precise angles of the grand architecture. For a moment, the world felt still, caught in the breathless pause of high noon. And in that stillness, a subtle energy vibrated, a sense of all things holding their breath, waiting for the afternoon's slow descent. What hidden truths are revealed in moments of profound stillness, when the ceaseless hum of activity finally recedes, allowing a different kind of perception to emerge. The early afternoon brought with it a shift in the palace's rhythm, a subtle deceleration as the heat of the day settled in. For the royal household, it was a time for luncheon, for leisurely conversations in sun-drenched salons, and perhaps a quiet repose. But for the servants, the pace, while seemingly less frantic, remained constant, merely changing its focus. The kitchens, having delivered the midday meal, now embarked on the laborious process of cleaning, a massive undertaking that involved scrubbing vast surfaces, polishing countless utensils, and preparing for the evening's culinary demands. The air still hummed with activity, a quieter, more methodical hum, like the steady pulse of a great machine. Was true rest ever truly found in a life of ceaseless service? Or was it merely a change in the nature of one's toil? In the vast courtyards, beneath the relentless gaze of the sun, stable hands continued their ceaseless care of the royal horses. The rhythmic swish of brushes, the soft murmur of voices soothing powerful beasts, and the rich, earthy scent of hay and horseflesh mingled in the warm air. These magnificent creatures, symbols of power and prestige, were themselves dependent on the quiet, unyielding dedication of their caretakers. Their strength, their beauty, their very ability to carry kings into battle or across vast estates originated in the humble hands that groomed them, fed them, and tended to their every need. What intricate dance exists between power and submission, between the grand display and the unseen support that makes it possible. Meanwhile, in the depths of the palace, beneath the intricate parquetry of the staterooms, the network of tunnels and passages buzzed with a different kind of life. These were the hidden arteries of Versailles, allowing servants to move swiftly and unseen between different wings, carrying messages, supplies, and laundry. Their existence known only to those who traversed them. They were the secret pathways, the concealed veins through which the lifeblood of the palace flowed. What profound understanding of connection and interdependence could be gleaned from these unseen conduits, linking every part of the grand structure in a hidden embrace. As the sun began its slow, inevitable descent towards the west, casting long, dramatic shadows across the manicured lawns, a fleeting sense of melancholic beauty settled over the palace. The golden light caught the edges of the gilded statues, illuminated the delicate carvings on the fountains, and transformed the very dust in the air into shimmering particles. It was a reminder of the ephemeral nature of all earthly grandeur, a quiet whisper that even the most magnificent creations would eventually yield to the ceaseless turning of the cosmic wheel. And in that fleeting moment of golden light, what wisdom might be found regarding the impermanence of all things and the quiet, enduring beauty of the present moment. The mid-afternoon, often referred to as the hour of the siesta for the privileged, was a period of subtle intensity for the palace staff. While the court might retreat to cooler chambers, seeking respite from the lingering warmth, the work below continued with an unwavering constancy. The sound of brushes on polished wood, more insistent now, echoed through the grand halls as housemaids began the painstaking process of preparing the public rooms for the evening's entertainments. Every speck of dust, every stray thread, was meticulously removed, as if the very air needed to be purified for the arrival of the glittering court. Is not true artistry found in this diligent pursuit of perfection, even in the most unseen details, knowing that the overall beauty depends on each individual, meticulous stroke? In the vast wine cellars, cool and damp, sommeliers moved among ancient casks and towering racks of bottles, their movements deliberate and imbued with respect. Each label, each vintage, held a lineage, a history of sun and soil and the patient work of human hands. They were not merely selecting beverages, they were curating experiences, preparing the very essence of celebration to flow through the evening's festivities. The quiet clink of glass against glass, the soft hiss of corks being drawn, these were the subtle sounds of an unseen ritual, preparing for the grand libations to come. What deeper meaning lies in the simple act of preparing to share, to offer the fruits of labor and time to others? Outside, as the shadows lengthened, a quiet industry began in the lesser-known corners of the gardens. Gardeners collected fallen leaves, swept pathways, and tended to the more delicate blooms, ensuring that even as night approached, the external beauty of Versailles remained unblemished. Their work was cyclical, a never-ending dance with nature, acknowledging both its wildness and its need for human cultivation. This constant dialogue between humanity and the natural world, was it not a microcosm of all existence, a perpetual seeking of harmony between the inherent and the imposed? As the day began its slow, graceful transition towards evening, a sense of anticipation began to permeate the palace. The golden light that had blessed the afternoon now softened, turning the distant clouds into painterly strokes of rose and lavender. The air, still warm, began to carry the faintest hint of the evening's approaching coolness. For a moment, one could almost feel the palace itself drawing a breath, preparing for the grand crescendo of the night. What deep, resonant truth lies in the understanding that every ending is merely a prelude, a quiet preparation for a new beginning. As twilight deepened, painting the western sky in hues of violet and deep rose, the palace began its grand transformation from a place of work to a stage for spectacle. Candles, thousands upon thousands of them, were meticulously lit throughout the staterooms, their flickering flames casting dancing shadows and creating an atmosphere of breathtaking intimacy and grandeur. Each tiny wick, patiently coaxed to life by the nimble fingers of lamplighters, contributed to the collective radiance, a shimmering ocean of light that defied the encroaching darkness. Was this not a profound lesson in the power of collective effort, where countless small lights combined to create an overwhelming brilliance? The scent of polished floors, once a faint whisper in the morning, now deepened, mingling with the heady aroma of beeswax and the faint, sweet perfume of drying flowers from the grand bouquets. The air, once cool and crisp with the promise of dawn, now held the lingering warmth of the day, subtly perfumed with anticipation. A different kind of rustling silk could be heard now, the swish of elaborate gowns as ladies of the court descended from their private chambers, their jewels catching the nascent light, their laughter like scattered pearls. The energy of the palace shifted, becoming more effervescent, more poised in the kitchens. The crescendo of preparation reached its peak. The air was thick with the rich scent of simmering sauces, the aroma of freshly baked pastries, and the sharp temps of exotic spices. Chefs, their faces flushed with heat and concentration, moved with a frantic yet precise energy, plating magnificent dishes with the speed and artistry of seasoned performers. Each creation, destined for a fleeting moment of admiration and consumption, was a testament to hours of meticulous labor, a transient masterpiece. What does it mean to create something of such beauty, knowing its existence will be so brief, its memory so fleeting? Does its value not reside in the very act of its making, and in the joy it brings, however momentary? Downstairs, away from the glittering spectacle, the scullery maids braced themselves for the inevitable onslaught of dirty dishes, their small world anticipating the inverse of the grandeur above. Yet, even in their silent readiness, there was a dignity, a quiet acceptance of their role in the grand machinery. For the cycle of consumption and cleansing, of creation and removal, was as fundamental to the palace's life as the rising and setting of the sun. And as the first strains of distant music began to drift down from the royal salons, a promise of revelry and delight, the unseen hands of Versailles continued their tireless, essential work. As the last vestiges of twilight faded, giving way to the velvet embrace of night, the palace was fully illuminated. A golden jewel glittering against the dark expanse of the French countryside, the music, once distant, now swelled, a rich tapestry of harpsichords, lutes, and flutes, weaving through the open windows and mingling with the hushed murmur of conversation. This was the hour of display, of grand balls and intricate, courtly rituals, where power was performed as much as it was wielded. The rustling silk became a ceaseless whisper, a symphony of movement as courtiers glided through the brilliantly lit halls, their faces alight with the dance of ambition and intrigue. What masks did they wear, these figures of high society, and what hidden selves lay beneath the powdered wigs and embroidered silks? Yet, even amidst this dazzling performance, the unseen machinery of service continued its precise function. Footmen circulated with trays of delicate confections and sparkling wine, their faces impassive, their eyes missing nothing. Chambermaids moved through the outer rooms, ready to refresh a wilting flower arrangement or discreetly clear away a dropped fan. They were the silent audience to the grand drama, privy to whispers that flew just beneath the surface of polite conversation, observing the subtle shifts in power and favor that played out on the grand stage. Did their silent presence, their unblinking gaze, not hold a deeper truth than the most eloquent courtly gossip? In the vast, cavernous cellars, a different kind of quiet descended. The sommeliers, having delivered their precious cargo, now oversaw the careful recorking of bottles, the meticulous return of unused spirits to their proper places. The air, cool and still, was thick with the earthy scent of damp stone and aged wine, a sanctuary of slumbering potential. Here, time was measured not in hours, but in decades, in centuries, a slow, patient process of maturation. What hidden wisdom does the earth hold, and what does it teach us about the profound beauty of slow, deliberate growth, of patience that transcends a single human lifetime? As the revelry above reached its zenith, a rhythmic hum settled over the lower quarters, the sound of diligent work, of preparations for the next day already beginning. Even as the present moment shimmered with transient joy, the future was being meticulously woven into the fabric of the palace. For Versailles was not merely a building, it was a living, breathing entity, its pulse sustained by a ceaseless cycle of effort and dedication. And in this endless rhythm, was there not a profound echo of the universe itself? A perpetual dance of creation, consumption, and renewal. The grand ball reached its crescendo, a swirling vortex of silk, music, and whispered ambitions. Yet, beneath the glittering chandeliers, a different kind of dance unfolded in the dimly lit passages and service stairwells. Footmen, accustomed to the intricate choreography of courtly gatherings, moved with loaded trays, their faces carefully neutral masks that betrayed no weariness. They were the silent carriers of delight, bringing forth champagne and delicate pastries, then whisking away empty glasses and crumbs, maintaining the illusion of effortless abundance. How much of the world's perceived splendor is merely a well-maintained illusion, supported by unseen efforts? In the quiet pantries, away from the revelry, staff methodically organized surplus food and returned unused silver to its proper, designated place. Every item had its home, every leftover a purpose, reflecting a profound understanding of resourcefulness born of necessity. A stark contrast to the extravagance just a few floors above. It was a silent testament to the wisdom of economy, the deep-seated knowledge that even in a palace of plenty, nothing should be truly wasted. What wisdom can be found in the careful preservation and thoughtful allocation of resources, even when abundance seems limitless? Outside, under the vast, star-dusted sky, the palace guards maintained their vigil, their silhouettes stoic against the moonlit architecture. The faint strains of music reached them, a distant echo of the life they protected, but did not partake in. Their role, though seemingly static, was crucial, to be the unmoving anchors in a world of constant motion. ensuring the tranquility that allowed the court to thrive. Was not their stillness a powerful force, a silent reassurance that order, even amidst the most vibrant chaos, could be maintained? As the night deepened, and the first whispers of fatigue began to touch even the most ardent dancers above, a subtle shift occurred in the atmosphere of the servant quarters. The frantic pace of earlier hours gave way to a more measured, yet no less dedicated, rhythm. Laundry rooms continued their quiet hum. Kitchen fires simmered down to embers, preparing for a brief rest before the dawn. The palace, in its entirety, began its slow exhalation after the day's grand performance. And in this quiet winding down, a profound peace began to settle, a sense of universal balance returning. Can true equilibrium only be found in the harmonious interplay of effort and rest, of giving and receiving, of light and shadow, as the grand balls wound down and the last carriages rolled away, bearing weary aristocrats into the cool pre-dawn. A profound quiet began to reclaim the vast halls of Versailles. The thousands of candles, once blazing, now flickered, their flames, growing weak, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to swallow the gilded ornamentation, returning the palace to a more primal, mysterious state. This was the hour when the true spirit of the stones seemed to emerge, when the echoes of centuries past resonated with greater clarity. What ancient wisdom lay dormant within these silent walls, waiting for the cacophony of the day to subside before revealing itself? In the royal bedchambers, the last attendants quietly withdrew, leaving the king and queen to their sleep. The rustling silk of their elaborate evening wear lay discarded, a poignant symbol of the day's performed grandeur giving way to the vulnerability of slumber. For even monarchs, in the deep embrace of night, shed their crowns and titles, becoming mere mortals in the quiet sanctity of their dreams. Was sleep not the ultimate equalizer, the great leveler where all humanity, regardless of station, returned to a state of profound unconsciousness, a small death before rebirth? Down in the servant quarters, a different kind of winding down occurred. The intense physical labor of the day had given way to bone-deep exhaustion. Figures, once moving with precise purpose, now stumbled slightly, their eyes heavy-lidded. Yet, even as they sought their own humble beds, a quiet sense of accomplishment pervaded the air. The palace had been served, the grand illusion maintained, another day successfully navigated. It was a victory of endurance, a triumph of dedication over the relentless demands of a colossal institution. What quiet strength, what profound resilience is forged in the crucible of continuous, unseen effort. The polished floors, now barely visible in the dwindling light, held the faint scent of wax and wood, a lingering memory of the day's ceaseless care. The candle smoke, once a sign of awakening, now drifted lazily, a soft sigh into the night, carrying with it the untold stories of those who had served. And as the palace truly surrendered to the night, falling into a deep, dreamless sleep, it whispered of cyclical truths, that every ending is a beginning, every shadow holds the promise of light, and that even in the profound quiet of cessation, the seeds of the next dawn are already stirring. What profound transformation occurs in the silent, hidden hours of darkness, preparing us for the light that is to come. In the deepest hours of the night, when the grand tapestries of Versailles seemed to hold their breath, and the very air grew heavy with secrets, another world existed, unseen and unremarked upon by those who revelled above. This was the world of the night watchmen, their footsteps echoing softly through the vast, empty corridors, a solitary rhythm against the palace's profound slumber. With lanterns held aloft, their beams cutting through the gloom. They patrolled, not merely guarding treasures of gold and art, but safeguarding the very peace of the sleeping court. What unseen guardians watch over our most cherished possessions, both material and spiritual, while we are lost in the oblivion of sleep? For these silent sentinels, the palace revealed a different face. Stripped of its daytime glamour, its human bustle, it became a monument to stillness, a repository of history whispered only to those who dared to listen. The grand halls, now empty, seemed to hold the echoes of countless past festivities, the silent reverberations of laughter and power, plays, the air, heavy with the scent of old wood and the faintest hint of fading perfume, carried an almost palpable sense of time's relentless passage. Was this not a profound encounter with the impermanence of all things, even the mightiest empires, in the face of eternity? In the quiet of their patrols, these watchmen might pause, their lanterns illuminating a dust mote dancing in the still air, a tiny, solitary world adrift. They were privy to the true nature of the palace, seeing beyond the facade of polished perfection to the subtle cracks, the inevitable wear of time, the constant effort required to maintain such an edifice. They understood, perhaps more deeply than anyone, that even the grandest structure was a living thing, requiring constant vigilance and care to prevent its slow decay. What hidden truths are revealed when the external noise of the world recedes, allowing us to truly see the underlying structures of reality. The only sounds were the soft creak of aging timbers, the distant hoot of an owl from the royal woods, and the rhythmic beat of their own hearts in the vast silence. It was a time for reflection, for the mind to wander beyond the confines of their immediate duty. What secret philosophies might one glean from hours spent in such quiet contemplation, amidst the sleeping echoes of power and grandeur? Perhaps the true gold was not found in the royal vaults, but in these moments of profound solitude, where the self could confront the immense quiet of existence and find its own measure. The deep stillness of the palace, now fully surrendered to the nocturnal hush, allowed for a different kind of awareness to settle over those few who remained awake, for the scullions who slept close to their vast, still-warm hearths, and the laundresses who briefly dozed amidst mountains of drying linen. Sleep was a fleeting, necessary reprieve, a brief descent into the wellspring of unconsciousness before the relentless demands of a new day began. Their dreams, if they came at all, were often fleeting fragments of their waking toil. The rhythmic scrub of a brush, the scent of lye soap, the phantom weight of a silver tray, was even sleep for these dedicated souls, not inextricably linked to the grand machinery they served. Yet, in this profound quiet, a different kind of energy permeated the very air. It was the energy of renewal, of restoration, the subtle recalibration that occurs in the absence of light and sound. The grand rooms, emptied of their human occupants, were not truly empty. They were filled with the silent breath of the palace itself, the slow expansion and contraction of its ancient timbers, the gentle settling of stone against stone. It was a time when the palace seemed to remember its own origins, its journey from raw material to magnificent edifice, a silent meditation on transformation. What profound secrets does the earth itself whisper to us in the deep quiet of the night, about growth, about resilience, about the long, patient alchemy of time? Below stairs, in the deepest cellars, where ancient wine casks rested undisturbed, the air was heavy with the rich, complex scent of fermentation and slow aging. Here, the very essence of time was tangible, a silent force working its magic. The wine, a patient witness to centuries, quietly transformed, gaining depth and character through its long slumber. It was a powerful metaphor for the human spirit, that through patient endurance, through the quiet work of self-refinement over long periods, the most profound and valuable transformations occur. Is not true wisdom, like fine wine, something that deepens and matures only with the passage of many silent, unhurried years? As the night wore on, inching closer to the first faint glimmer of dawn, a subtle tension began to build, a silent anticipation of the cycle's inevitable turn. The profound peace of the deep night, though precious, was always fleeting, for the palace, and for all who lived within its intricate web. The promise of light carried with it the renewed demand for effort, for purpose, for the grand performance of another day. And in that quiet anticipation, one might ponder, is existence itself not a ceaseless interplay of stillness and motion, of shadow and light, each essential for the other's profound meaning, found meaning just before the first true break of dawn, when the sky was still a deep, inky canvas? A subtle tremor ran through the palace, not a physical tremor, but an energetic one, a faint vibration that presaged the imminent awakening. It was as if the ancient stones themselves began to stir, preparing to absorb the light and bustle of a new day. In the royal gardens, the air grew noticeably cooler, carrying the fresh, clean scent of dew-kissed earth and slumbering blossoms. The world was poised, on the cusp, caught between the profound stillness of night and the vibrant promise of morning. What profound wisdom can be found in these liminal moments, these spaces between what was and what is yet to be, where the veil between worlds seems thinnest. A faint, almost imperceptible lightening of the eastern horizon was the signal. For those few servants who had found a brief rest, it was a gentle, internal summons, pulling them from the depths of sleep. Their bodies, accustomed to the palace's ancient rhythms, seemed to know instinctively when their service would be required again. There was no need for alarm clocks or urgent calls. The very air hummed with the inevitability of the coming day. This deep attunement to natural cycles, was it not a lost art, a connection to the fundamental pulse of existence that modern life often obscures? In the vast kitchens, the first embers were stirred, coaxed back to life with gentle breaths and dry kindling. A faint glow began to spread, chasing away the shadows, preparing the hearth for the day's first fires. The scent of wood smoke, faint at first, then growing stronger, began to mingle with the cool, damp air, a primal fragrance of industry awakening. It was a ritual as old as humanity itself, this rekindling of the flame, a quiet act of defiance against the cold and darkness of the night, a reaffirmation of life's enduring warmth. What does it mean to ignite a flame, not just literally, but metaphorically, within our own lives, calling forth the energy for a new beginning? The polished floors, now visible in the creeping luminescence, would soon bear the weight of countless footsteps, both hurried and graceful. The candle smoke, once a sign of farewell, now hung as a faint, lingering memory, soon to be replaced by the fresh breath of a new morning. And in this quiet, almost reverent period of transition, before the grand theatre of Versailles once again opened its gilded doors, the profound truth of cyclical existence was silently reaffirmed, that every end is merely a preparation, a clearing of the stage for the inevitable, glorious unfolding of a new beginning. And what if the gold we truly seek is not found in accumulation, but in the constant renewal, the perpetual rebirth of each unfolding moment? With the faintest kiss of true dawn, the first birdsong pierced the silence, a fragile melody that seemed to awaken the world beyond the palace walls. It was a gentle overture to the grand symphony of the coming day, In the royal stables, the horses stirred, their powerful muscles twitching, and the quiet snorts and soft rustle of straw began to fill the vast arched spaces. A fresh batch of stable hands, their sleep now fully relinquished, arrived, ready to groom and feed these magnificent animals, ensuring they were prepared for the day's rides or ceremonial duties. The bond between human and beast, forged in quiet routine and mutual dependence, was a testament to a different kind of alliance, one built not on titles but on trust and tireless care. How often do we overlook the profound relationships that exist outside the spotlight, sustaining the very fabric of our world? In the grand kitchens, the first loaves of bread were pulled from the roaring ovens, their crusts golden and fragrant, filling the air with the comforting scent of warmth and sustenance. The bakers, their faces dusted with flour, moved with the quiet reverence of artists unveiling their creations. This simple, ancient act of baking, transforming humble grains into the staff of life, was a daily miracle, a tangible connection to the earth's bounty and humanity's endless capacity for creation. What deeper spiritual meaning lies in the act of preparing and sharing food, an act that has nourished bodies and souls across all cultures and throughout all time? The light grew stronger now, washing over the palace with a soft, ethereal glow, revealing the intricate details of its facade, the delicate carvings, and the weathered elegance of its ancient stones. The night's secrets began to recede, folded back into the deeper fabric of history, awaiting the next descent of darkness to emerge once more. The air, crisp and cool, held the promise of clarity, of a new beginning untainted by the lingering shadows of the past. And in this moment of pure, nascent light, before the great gears of the court began their full turn, a profound quietude settled over the servant quarters. It was a quiet born not of emptiness, but of anticipation, of preparation, of the brief, precious pause before the world demanded action once more. The polished floors gleamed with a nascent radiance, the lingering candle smoke a wisp of memory, soon to be dispersed by the vibrant breath of the new day. And in this quiet, what if the most significant transformations were not loud and dramatic, but rather subtle and internal, forged in the silent crucible of daily dedication? Is transformation not the real alchemy, the constant turning of the self into something new, something refined? With the rising sun, now a brilliant orb in the eastern sky, bathing Versailles in a cascade of golden light, the rhythmic sounds of the palace began to swell. The distant clatter of pots from the kitchens grew more insistent. The soft swish of brooms on cobblestones became a steady sweep, and the first faint stirrings of silk from the royal apartments signaled the approach of a new day for the court. The transformation from sleeping giant to bustling heart was almost complete. A daily resurrection played out across hundreds of souls and thousands of square feet. How often do we fail to see the cyclical nature of our own lives, the constant death and rebirth of each moment, each day? Servants who had been on the verge of sleep just an hour before now moved with renewed purpose, their weariness held at bay by the sheer force of habit and duty. The laundresses, their arms aching from the previous night's work, began to hang crisp, freshly pressed linens on outdoor lines, where they billowed gently in the morning breeze like white sails on a calm sea. The scent of clean fabric, sun-warmed and pure, permeated the air, a testament to the endless cycle of cleansing and renewal. What profound cleansing occurs when we face our own impurities, our own stains, and allow ourselves to be refined by effort and time. Upstairs, the first valets and chambermaids entered the royal chambers, their movements hushed and deferential, curtains were drawn back, allowing the full splendor of the morning light to flood the opulent rooms, revealing every detail of the gilded furniture, the intricate tapestries, the vast, polished mirrors. It was an unveiling, a grand reveal, preparing the stage for the day's primary actors. Yet, the true magic lay not in the opulence itself, but in the unseen hands that meticulously prepared it. Day after day, year after year, the polished floors, now gleaming under the direct gaze of the sun, bore witness to the renewed procession of life. Candle smoke, a lingering phantom from the night, quickly dissipated, replaced by the fresh, vibrant breath of morning air. The palace, fully awake, pulsed with an intricate energy, a symphony of countless small efforts coming together to create a seamless whole. And in this ceaseless rhythm of service and spectacle, one might ponder the deeper meaning of human endeavor. Is it the grand statement, or the quiet, persistent effort that truly shapes the world and carves its enduring truths? Is the gold we seek truly external, or does it lie within the heart of our own diligent, unassuming contribution? The palace was now in full swing, a grand theatre of life, reenacting its age-old script. Carriages began to arrive at the courtyards, their polished wheels crunching on the gravel, bringing a fresh influx of courtiers and petitioners, their silk gowns rustling, their voices a polite murmur that swelled into a vibrant hum. The scent of roasted coffee, now stronger and more widespread, mingled with the blossoming fragrances from the vast gardens, creating an olfactory tapestry of morning at Versailles. Each element, from the grandest arrival to the smallest waft of scent, played its part in the orchestrated experience of the royal court. What unseen threads connect seemingly disparate elements, weaving them into the intricate tapestry of a single day, a single life? Down in the depths of the kitchen, the morning meal was reaching its final bustling crescendo before service. The vast copper pots gleamed, reflecting the frantic dance of the cooks, their movements a blur of practiced efficiency. The air was thick with savory aromas and the rhythmic scrape of knives, a powerful testament to the sheer volume of sustenance required to fuel the palace's inhabitants. This ceaseless creation, this daily act of feeding a multitude, was a profound demonstration of nurturing, a silent echo of the earth's own generosity. What does it mean to truly nourish, not just the body, but the spirit, through dedication and selfless effort? The stable hands, having finished their early duties, now led out the first horses for the morning ride, their coats gleaming, their breath pluming in the cool air. The powerful animals, once wild, now moved with a trained grace, embodying the disciplined strength that comes from careful guidance and consistent effort. Their beauty was a reflection of the invisible hands that groomed them, fed them, and understood their very nature. Is not true transformation often found in the patient taming of our own inner wildness, shaping it not into submission, but into a more refined, purposeful strength? The polished floors, now traversed by hundreds of feet, reflected the growing brilliance of the morning light, a silent witness to the ebb and flow of life within these hallowed walls. The last traces of candle smoke had vanished, replaced by the fresh, vibrant energy of a new day fully embraced. And as the sun climbed higher, asserting its undisputed reign over the sky, the palace, in its cyclical rhythm, seemed to offer profound teaching that true purpose is found not in a singular achievement, but in the continuous, dedicated repetition of meaningful acts. For was it not in this tireless cycle of service, of refinement, of persistent care, that the true, enduring gold of existence was ultimately forged? The polished floors, now traversed by hundreds of feet, reflected the growing brilliance of the morning light, a silent witness to the ebb and flow of life within these hallowed walls. The last traces of candle smoke had vanished, replaced by the fresh, vibrant energy of a new day fully embraced. As the sun climbed higher, asserting its undisputed reign over the sky, the palace, in its cyclical rhythm, seemed to offer a profound teaching that true purpose is found not in a singular achievement, but in the continuous, dedicated repetition of meaningful acts. For was it not in this tireless cycle of service, of refinement, of persistent care, that the true, enduring gold of existence was ultimately forged? The great clock in the antechamber chimed once more, its resonant tone echoing through the now bustling halls, marking a moment not of cessation, but of timeless continuation. The morning had fully bloomed, and the palace of Versailles pulsed with the vibrant, undeniable energy of life lived in its fullest, most elaborate expression. The rustling silk, the soft clatter of porcelain, the distant fanfares, the murmur of 1,000 voices, all wove together into a symphony of opulent existence. Yet, beneath this glittering surface, the quiet, persistent rhythm of the servant quarters remained the true heartbeat, the steady pulse that allowed the grand illusion to flourish day after silent day. The polished floors, now shimmering with the full brilliance of the high morning sun, reflected an endless vista of light, a liquid mirror of the enduring cycle of existence. They had absorbed the profound silence of dawn, the frenetic energy of preparation, the weight of 1,000 footsteps, and the soft sighs of contentment. They held the memories of every whispered secret, every shared glance, every silent moment of human perseverance. They were a testament to the idea that even the most mundane surface, through constant care and dedication, could become a canvas for profound reflection. The very air, now warm and filled with the scents of fresh bread and blooming flowers, carried the lingering, almost spiritual essence of countless dawns and dusks. It was a silent testament to the alchemy of light overcoming darkness, of human effort transforming the raw elements into something beautiful, something enduring. For just as the flame refines the wax, so too does diligent service refine the spirit, transforming suffering and effort into a profound inner luminescence. And so, the day at Versailles unfolded, not as a singular event, but as a continuous unfolding, a perpetual dance of preparation and presentation, of creation and consumption, of light and shadow. The hidden wisdom, the secret knowledge, was never truly hidden. It was woven into the very fabric of daily life, embedded in the rhythm of the laundresses, the profound silence of the watchmen, the quiet dedication of the chefs, and the meticulous care of the gardeners. It was a truth whispered by the polished floors, carried on the gentle currents of the air, revealed in the profound act of humble, selfless service. Perhaps the stone was never outside, never a grand, mythical object to be found and seized, but rather an inner transformation. Perhaps the true philosopher's stone was the very process of refinement, the endless cycle of effort, the patient endurance through hardship, the willingness to transform oneself through dedication to the task at hand. And maybe, just maybe, the journey was the transformation all along, not merely a path to an end, but the very crucible in which inner gold was forged. So if gold was never the point, if external riches were but fleeting illusions, what then was? Perhaps it was the understanding that true value lies not in what is acquired, but in what is given, not in the fleeting spectacle, but in the enduring spirit of service, not in the crown, but in the quiet, humble hands that polish it. It was the realization that true wealth resides in the continuous, dedicated repetition of meaningful acts, forever returning to the beginning only to begin anew in a state of calm awe.